Buenos dias por favor suscribir en nuestro canal comento y comparte. 1,198 kilometers south-southwest of Diego Garcia, and has moved eastward at 9 kilometers per hour, 5 knots, over the past 6 hours. Categories are estimated. Forecasts are provided by JTWC. Wind speeds and categorizations may differ from those provided by local meteorological agencies. Djoungou is forecast to continue tracking generally east-southeastward over the next 12 to 24 hours as it continues to strengthen and intensify. As the vortex expands, the steering level will get steadily higher, leading to a more southeastward track after 24 hours. The tight gradient between the near-equatorial ridge to the north and a strong mid-latitude trough to the south and west will accelerate Djoungou up to about 35 km per hour, 20 knots, in 3 days before slowing once more by the end of the forecast as it runs into a low to mid-level ridge lurking off the west coast of Australia. In terms of intensity, the environment is primed for rapid intensification, RI, with highly favorable environmental parameters lining up support. The only thing holding the system back at the moment is a bit of mid-level shear, but available guidance suggests this should weaken in the next 6 to 12 hours. Once the convection can begin to wrap up shear, the system will embark upon a period of RI, with the forecast calling for a peak of 215 km per hour, 115 knots, in 36 hours. But the window for RI is brief as shear will sharply increase beginning at 2 days, increasing further to near 110 km per hour, 60 knots, in 3 days, bringing with it a surge in very dry mid-level air. The high wind, shear and low moisture content will conspire to decapitate and smother Djoungou beginning as early as the next 2 days. As the system is expected to retain its warm core characteristics and remain over marginal 25-26 C waters during this time, it is forecast to undergo subtropical transition, STT, beginning in 3 days and potentially as early as the next 60 hours. Transition to a storm strength. Subtropical low is anticipated in 4 days. Deterministic track guidance is in very good agreement in the overall track direction, as to be expected with such a well-structured steering pattern. Crosstrack spread at 3 days is just 278 km between the EGRR, Galwem, and Ukmat ensemble marking the northern edge and the Navgem marking the southern edge of the grouping. Through the end of the forecast, the models remain in good crosstrack agreement, but begin to spread out a long track, reaching up to 759 km between the Galwem and Ukmat ensemble in 4 days. The JTWC forecast is consistent with the consensus mean throughout the forecast period with high confidence. Intensity.